Have you ever felt that strange, almost unsettling sensation that your life was following an invisible script? As if every choice you made, every person you met, every pain you carried wasn't the result of chance, but part of a larger design, a secret architecture you didn't yet understand. This sensation is not an illusion. It's a call that has been resonating since the exact moment you took your first breath in this world. And according to Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human soul, this call carries a precise temporal signature, an energetic imprint hidden in your birth month. Now, before you think this is yet another superficial astrological interpretation, stop for a moment. What we're going to discuss today has nothing to do with magazine horoscopes or generic predictions. This is about depth psychology, archetypal symbolism, about how the cycles of nature and time shape our consciousness in invisible but powerful ways. Jung was not a simple psychologist. He was an archaeologist of the collective unconscious, a man who dared to look where science refused to go, into the dark corners of the human psyche, into the myths that inhabit us, into the symbols that have been speaking to us for millennia. For him, every element of our existence carried symbolic meaning, and the moment of our birth, that temporal portal through which our soul entered the material world, was certainly no exception. Think about it sincerely for a moment. You were born in a specific month. That month had a specific temperature, a particular quality of light, a unique natural rhythm. The earth was breathing in a certain way. The trees were in a particular state of their cycle. Animals were following specific seasonal behaviors, and you, a fragile little human being, arrived exactly at that moment, bathing in that precise energetic atmosphere. Jung believed this synchronicity was not accidental. He thought we are born in the month that best corresponds to the energy our soul must embody, the lessons it must learn, the challenges it must face. Each month carries a different archetypal tonality, a unique psychic vibration that impregnates those born under its influence. But what does this mean concretely for you today, for your current life, for the repetitive patterns you don't understand, for that persistent feeling that something in you is asking to be liberated? Perhaps you're going through a period of transition right now. Perhaps you feel your life lacks meaning, that your relationships are superficial, that your work no longer nourishes you. Perhaps you carry an emotional burden you don't speak to anyone about. A nameless sadness, a suppressed anger, a fear that paralyzes you. Or perhaps you're simply tired of living on autopilot, of repeating the same mistakes, of feeling disconnected from who you truly are. If this is the case, know that you are not alone. Millions of people are living exactly what you're living, and most don't understand why. They search for answers outside, in others' advice, in conventional therapies, in distractions, in constant agitation. But Jung reminds us of a fundamental truth. The answers are never outside, they are always inside, hidden in the symbols that have inhabited us since our birth. Your birth month is one of these symbols. It's a key that can open doors you thought were closed forever. It's a mirror that can reveal aspects of yourself you've always felt, but never named. It's a compass that can guide you toward your true nature, toward what Jung called the individuation process, the path to becoming fully yourself. In the next few minutes, we're going to take a journey together, a journey through the 12 months of the year, through the 12 principal archetypes that Jung associated with these temporal periods. We'll explore how these energies manifest in your personality, in your relationships, in your wounds, in your hidden gifts. We'll discover why certain patterns repeat in your life, why certain situations constantly attract you, why you react in certain ways in moments of stress. But most importantly, we're going to give you the tools to transform this knowledge into power, to break free from unconscious repetitions and begin living with intention, with awareness, with your soul. Because this is exactly what Jung wanted. Not to lock us into rigid categories, but to free us from our internal prisons by giving us access to the symbolic language of our own psyche. So, are you ready to discover what your birth month reveals about your soul mission? Are you ready to face the parts of yourself you've avoided for years? Are you ready to finally understand why you are the way you are? Why you suffer the way you suffer? And most importantly, how you can transcend this suffering to access a more authentic, deeper life, more aligned with your true nature? If your answer is yes, then breathe deeply. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Feel that part of you that knows, that has always known, that there was something greater at play in your life. That part that led you here, to this precise moment, to hear words that resonate with a truth you already carried within you. The journey begins now, and I promise you that by the end, you will no longer be quite the same person. Something in you will have changed, awakened, remembered. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll finally begin to live the life you were truly born for. The archetypes of the first quarter. Let's begin our exploration with the first 3 months of the year, this period when the world slowly emerges from its winter sleep. These months carry within them a particular energy of introspection, gestation, silent preparation. If you were born during this period, you probably carry within you a depth that few people truly understand. January, the guardian of the threshold. January marks the beginning of a new temporal cycle, but in nature, it's still the heart of winter. Cold reigns, the earth sleeps, everything seems immobile on the surface. Yet beneath this appearance of death, intense life is preparing. Seeds germinate invisibly in the frozen soil. Trees concentrate their energy in their roots. Nature meditates. Those born in January carry this energy of deep meditation. Jung associated them with the archetype of the guardian, that figure who stands at the threshold between two worlds, between the old and the new, between what is dead and what is about to be born. These people often have precocious maturity, a wisdom that seems to come from elsewhere. Even as children, they observed the world with adult eyes, perceiving nuances that other children didn't see. Do you recognize this characteristic in yourself? This sensation of having always been different, more serious, deeper than others your age. This ability to see through facades, to sense the unspoken, to perceive the sadness hidden behind forced smiles. This is your gift, but it's also your burden. For the guardian of the threshold carries a particular solitude. It's the solitude of one who sees too much, understands too much, feels too much. It's the solitude of one who was asked very early to be strong, to be responsible, to be the rock on which others can lean. How many times have you swallowed your own tears to console someone else? How many times have you hidden your fear to reassure those around you? How many times have you carried burdens that weren't yours, simply because no one else seemed capable of doing so? The danger for people born in January is becoming prisoners of their own strength, building walls so thick around themselves that no one can enter anymore, becoming so accustomed to taking care of others that they forget how to receive, becoming so cautious, so controlled, so rigid, that they lose contact with their own spontaneity, their own joy, their own inner child. If you recognize yourself in this description, your individuation work consists of learning vulnerability, understanding that true strength is not impermeability, but the ability to open up despite fear. Discovering that you can guard the threshold without chaining yourself to it, that you can be wise without being distant, that you can be deep without being heavy. February, the solitary visionary. February is the shortest month of the year, as if it were in a hurry, as if it carried a particular urgency. It's a month of transition, suspended between winter that lingers and spring that announces itself. A month of anticipation, of promise, of something that is about to arrive, but isn't there yet. People born in February embody this energy of anticipation. Jung associated them with the archetype of the visionary, the one who sees what doesn't yet exist, who perceives possibilities before they manifest, who dreams of a different world. These souls often have the impression of not belonging to their time, of being born either too early or too late. Perhaps you've always had ideas that no one understood. Perhaps you've always felt problems before they erupted, sensed changes before they occurred, imagined solutions that others called impossible. Your mind works differently. You don't see what is, you see what could be, and this makes you both a potential genius and a chronic misfit. The pain of the visionary is the pain of creative solitude. It's the pain of one who speaks a language that few people understand. How many times have you shared a brilliant idea only to be met with blank stares? How many times have you tried to explain your vision only to be called a dreamer, an idealist, disconnected from reality? How many times have you given up on your intuitions because no one supported you? The trap for people born in February is to take refuge entirely in their inner world, to become so detached from concrete reality that they lose the ability to act. Their visions remain dreams. Their ideas remain thoughts. Their potential remains unexploited. Or worse, they can become bitter, cynical, convinced that the world doesn't deserve their gifts. Your path of individuation consists of learning grounding, understanding that your visions have value precisely because they can transform reality, but only if you find the courage to manifest them. Discovering that you don't need the approval of the entire world to begin, that a few souls who understand you are enough, realizing that your originality is not a defect to correct, but a gift to cultivate. March, the silent transmuter. March is the month when winter finally begins to let go. Ice melts, first shoots pierce the earth, birds return. It's a month of rebirth, but of a still fragile, still uncertain rebirth. Nature hesitates between cold and warmth, between death and life. Those born in March carry this energy of transformation. Jung associated them with the archetype of the transmuter, the one who constantly goes through cycles of death and rebirth, who seems to die and be reborn emotionally several times during their life. These people have an almost liquid sensitivity, an extraordinary capacity for adaptation, but also a fragility that makes them vulnerable. Do you recognize in yourself this tendency to live through profound transformations? These moments when you feel like you're becoming a completely different person, when your old identity dissolves and a new one emerges? These periods when you withdraw from the world, when you need intense solitude, when you dive into your depths to emerge renewed. The strength of the transmuter is their capacity for evolution, their fluidity, their absence of rigidity. But their danger is dispersion, loss of boundaries, inability to say no. People born in March often absorb others' emotions like sponges. They feel atmospheres, they capture energies, they carry emotional burdens that don't belong to them. How many times have you found yourself exhausted after spending time with certain people? How many times have you felt like you were losing your identity in your relationships, no longer knowing where you ended and the other began? How many times have you fled a situation instead of confronting it, simply because you no longer had the energy to manage the emotional intensity? Your individuation work consists of learning boundaries, understanding that you can be empathetic without being permeable, sensitive without being vulnerable, transformative without being unstable. Discovering that your power of transmutation must first apply to yourself, to the transformation of your own pain into wisdom, of your own chaos into clarity. The archetypes of the second quarter. We now enter the expansion phase of the year, these months when nature explodes with life, when energy rises, when the world becomes vibrant and dynamic. If you were born during this period, you probably carry within you a force of action, a capacity for manifestation, a desire to build and create. April, the impulsive pioneer. April is the month of total awakening. Flowers explode, trees bud, animals come out of hibernation. It's a month of pure vital energy, creative urgency, irrepressible impulse toward life. Nature no longer asks permission, it moves forward. People born in April embody this pioneering energy. Jung associated them with the archetype of the warrior, not in the military sense, but in the sense of one who dares, who initiates, who breaks stagnations. These souls have an inner fire that constantly pushes them to act, to begin, to challenge, to transform. Perhaps you're that person who can't stay still, who always has a new project, a new passion, a new idea. Perhaps you're the one who takes initiatives when everyone hesitates, who charges forward when others calculate, who defends causes that no one dares to defend. Your courage is authentic, but it often hides a deep fear. For the warrior is afraid of immobility, afraid of failure, afraid of not measuring up, and they compensate for this fear with constant action, with agitation, with perpetual conquest. How many battles have you fought that weren't yours? How many times have you started something with passion only to abandon it as soon as difficulty appeared? How many times has your impulsivity caused you problems that your wisdom could have avoided? The danger for people born in April is exhaustion. It's burning too fast, too hard, without taking time to regenerate. It's confusing action with progress, movement with direction, intensity with depth. Your path of individuation consists of learning the pause, understanding that true courage is not only in action but also in waiting, that true strength includes the ability to do nothing when necessary, that impulse must be tempered by reflection to become truly powerful. May the patient architect. After April's explosion, May arrives with a completely different energy. It's the month of stabilization, rooting, patient construction. Nature no longer runs, it settles, it takes its time, it develops its structures carefully. People born in May carry this architect energy. Jung associated them with the archetype of the builder, the one who creates solid foundations, who builds to last, who values security and stability. These souls have a privileged relationship with the concrete, the tangible, the physical. Do you recognize in yourself this ability to persevere where others give up? This loyalty that makes you stay in situations even when they become difficult? This ability to create beauty in simple things, to find pleasure in routines, to appreciate what you have instead of chasing what you don't have? The builder's gift is precious in a world of constant agitation. You are the ground on which others can lean, the constancy that allows growth, the patience that makes great achievements possible. But this gift has its shadow. How many times has your need for security prevented you from seizing opportunities? How many times has your loyalty transformed into a prison? How many times has your resistance to change made you miss necessary transformations? People born in May often struggle to let go, to accept that certain things must die for new ones to be born, to trust life's flow even when it takes them into unknown territory. Your individuation work consists of learning flexibility, understanding that true security doesn't come from external immobility, but from internal trust, that you can remain rooted while allowing yourself to grow. That authentic stability includes the ability to adapt when change is necessary. June, the curious explorer. June marks the beginning of summer, the time of year when days are longest, when light dominates. It's a month of openness, communication, connection. Nature is in full bloom. Insects pollinate, birds sing. Everything communicates with everything. People born in June embody this energy of communication and exploration. Jung associated them with the archetype of the messenger, the one who connects, who transmits, who bridges worlds. These souls have an insatiable curiosity, an agile mind, an ability to see multiple perspectives simultaneously. Perhaps you've always been fascinated by ideas, conversations, learning. Perhaps you easily move from one subject to another, from one interest to another, finding connections that others don't see. Perhaps you have this gift of talking to anyone, adapting to any situation, understanding contradictory viewpoints. Your strength is your mental flexibility, your adaptability, your open-mindedness. But your challenge is grounding. How many projects have you started without finishing them? How many times has your curiosity scattered you instead of deepening you? How many times have you avoided commitment for fear of losing your freedom? The messenger can become an eternal beginner, someone who tastes everything without ever truly mastering anything, who knows many people without ever creating deep bonds, who accumulates information without ever developing wisdom. Your path of individuation consists of learning depth, understanding that true freedom is not in constant flight, but in conscious choice, that authentic communication requires not only speaking, but also listening, that your curiosity becomes wisdom only when it's channeled toward a meaningful quest. The archetypes of the third quarter, we now reach the maturity phase of the year. These months when fruits ripen, when light begins to decline, when a certain melancholy tints abundance. If you were born during this period, you probably carry within you a particular emotional depth, an acute awareness of life's cycles. July, the sacrificial nurturer. July is the heart of summer, the time of year when nature gives generously. Gardens overflow with fruits, fields are heavy with harvests, everything seems abundant and welcoming. It's a month that speaks of giving, generosity, nourishment in the broad sense. People born in July carry this nurturing energy. Jung associated them with the archetype of the Great Mother, not in the literal sense, but in the psychological sense of one who welcomes, who protects, who nourishes emotionally. These souls have an extraordinary capacity for empathy, emotional intuition, care. Do you recognize in yourself this tendency to take care of others almost automatically? This ability to sense what someone needs before they even ask? This way of creating around you a secure space where others can rest, confide, reveal themselves? Your gift is immense and precious. In an increasingly cold and distant world, your capacity for welcome is like an oasis in the desert. But this gift has a cost that no one sees. How many times have you put your own needs last? How many times have you kept your pain to yourself so as not to worry others? How many times have you given to the point of exhaustion, secretly waiting for someone to offer you the same care you offer so generously? The danger of the nurturer is self-sacrifice. It's creating an entire identity around being indispensable to others, forgetting that one also has an inner life that demands attention. It's developing a toxic equation where self-love becomes conditional on serving others. Your individuation work consists of learning that nourishing begins with nourishing oneself. Understanding that you cannot give eternally without receiving, that setting boundaries is not selfishness but survival, that your value doesn't depend on your usefulness to others. August, the solitary sovereign. August is the month of the triumphant sun, of long and luminous days, of maximum visibility. It's a month when everything is exposed, when nothing can hide, when presence is total. Nature reigns in its full glory. People born in August embody this energy of sovereignty. Jung associated them with the archetype of the king or queen, the one who is made to shine, to lead, to inspire. These souls have natural charisma, magnetic presence, an innate sense of leadership. Perhaps you've always felt that you were different, destined for something greater. Perhaps others naturally turn to you for advice, for direction, for inspiration. Perhaps you have this ability to see the big picture, to formulate a vision, to gather people around a common goal. But behind this brilliant facade often hides deep solitude. The sovereign wears a heavy crown. They're expected to always be strong, always sure, always in control. How many times have you hidden your vulnerability for fear of disappointing? How many times have you carried the weight of decisions alone because no one else seemed capable? How many times have you felt the desperate need to simply be human, fragile, uncertain, but with no one to show it to? The danger for people born in August is isolation. It's shining so bright that no one dares to really approach. It's confusing respect with love, admiration with authentic connection, power with intimacy. Your path of individuation consists of learning vulnerability, understanding that true leadership includes the ability to show one's humanity, that authentic strength admits its weaknesses, that you can be a king or queen while remaining deeply human and accessible. September, the anxious perfectionist. After August's brilliance, September brings a different energy. It's the month of harvest, sorting, discernment. Nature begins to prepare for autumn, separating what must be kept from what must be left. People born in September carry this energy of discernment. Jung associated them with the archetype of the analyst, the one who observes, who analyzes, who seeks to understand and perfect. These souls have a sharp critical mind, an ability to see details that others miss, a deep desire for order and meaning. Do you recognize in yourself this tendency to want to understand everything? This inability to rest when something isn't right? This ability to instantly spot what isn't working in a situation, a relationship, a system? Your analytical mind is a precious gift, but it can also become a prison. How many times has your quest for perfection paralyzed you? How many times has your inner critic prevented you from acting for fear of not measuring up? How many times has your ability to see problems made you miss the beauty? People born in September often carry a burden of anxiety. that inner voice that constantly tells them they must do better, be better, that nothing is ever good enough. The danger of the analyst is paralysis by analysis. It's living in one's head instead of living in one's life. It's seeking control as protection against existential uncertainty, forgetting that life itself is fundamentally uncontrollable. Your individuation work consists of learning acceptance, understanding that perfection doesn't exist, that imperfection is part of human beauty, that you can analyze without judging, observe without criticizing, seek to understand without seeking to control. The archetypes of the fourth quarter. We now arrive at the final phase of the year. These months when light declines, when nature withdraws, when the veil between worlds becomes thinner. If you were born during this period, you probably carry within you a mystical dimension, a connection to mystery, a familiarity with the depths of existence. October, the balancing mediator. October is the month of perfect balance, the moment when day and night have exactly the same duration. It's a month of transition, of passage, when leaves change color before falling, when beauty and death dance together. People born in October embody this search for balance. Jung associated them with the archetype of the mediator, the one who seeks harmony, who sees all sides of a situation, who tries to create bridges where others see divisions. These souls have a deep aesthetic sensitivity, an acute sense of justice, an inability to bear imbalances. Perhaps you're that person who always sees both sides of a conflict, who understands everyone's motivations even when they're contradictory. Perhaps you've spent your life trying to create peace around you, to arbitrate family disputes, to reconcile estranged people, to find compromises where others saw only impasses. Your gift is precious in a polarized world. You are the bridge, the translator, the one who can speak everyone's language. But this gift hides a deep pain. How many times have you sacrificed your own truth to maintain peace? How many times have you swallowed your opinion to avoid confrontation? How many times have you chosen external harmony at the cost of your internal integrity? The danger of the mediator is loss of center. It's becoming so flexible that you no longer have a backbone, so understanding that you no longer have boundaries, so diplomatic that you no longer have a position. It's living in perpetual in-between, unable to take sides, paralyzed by fear of hurting someone, of creating imbalance, of breaking harmony. Your path of individuation consists of learning that authentic balance includes your own weight, understanding that you cannot create true harmony if you're not included in that harmony. That peace that requires your silence is not peace but oppression, that you have the right to exist fully, even if it temporarily creates imbalance. November, the shadow alchemist. November is the month when nature visibly dies. Trees are bare, days are short, cold settles in. It's a month that speaks of ending, loss, passage into darkness, but it's also the month when seeds fall into the earth. When the invisible process of transformation begins, that will lead to renewal. People born in November carry this energy of profound transformation. Jung associated them with the archetype of the alchemist, the one who descends into the depths, who confronts shadow, who transmutes lead into gold. These souls have an intimate relationship with death and rebirth, not in the literal sense, but in the psychological sense. Do you recognize in yourself this tendency to live through radical transformations? These periods when your entire life seems to collapse to rebuild itself differently? This ability to see through appearances, to perceive hidden motivations, to sense what's brewing beneath the surface. You're not afraid of darkness because you know it contains truths that light cannot reveal. Your intensity is both your gift and your curse. You live everything more deeply than others. Your joys are ecstatic. Your pains are abyssal. Your passions are consuming. You don't know lukewarmness, superficiality, half measures, but this intensity can isolate you. How many times have you felt that no one could truly understand you? How many times have your attempts to share your inner world been met with incomprehension or even fear? How many times have you felt like a stranger in your own life, carrying secrets too heavy, seeing truths too disturbing? The danger of the alchemist is getting lost in the depths. It's becoming so fascinated by shadow that you forget light, so obsessed with transformation that you forget to live, so identified with your pain that you make it an identity. Some people born in November become prisoners of their own abysses, revisiting their traumas again and again, unable to exit the cycle of death and rebirth to simply be. Your individuation work consists of learning that transformation has a purpose, understanding that you descend into the depths not to stay there, but to bring back treasures, that your ability to transmute pain into wisdom must serve not only your own evolution, but also that of others, that true alchemy is complete only when it produces gold that can be shared. December, the visionary sage. December closes the annual cycle. It's the month of winter solstice, the moment when night is longest, but when light imperceptibly begins to return. It's a month of ending and beginning, of death and promise, of darkness and hope. People born in December embody this duality. Jung associated them with the archetype of the sage, the one who has traveled, who has learned, who has integrated, who can now see with an expanded perspective. These souls often have a marked philosophical or spiritual dimension, an ability to see beyond the immediate, to perceive the larger patterns of existence. Perhaps you've always been fascinated by the big questions. What is the meaning of life? Why does suffering exist? What comes after death? Where do we come from? Where are we going? These questions are not intellectual curiosities for you. They're existential urgencies. You need to understand, to make sense, to see the big picture. Your ability to adopt a broad perspective is a precious gift. You can see connections that others miss, understand how pieces fit together, offer wisdom that comes from a panoramic vision of existence. But this gift has its shadow. How many times has your mind in the stars made you forget your feet on the ground? How many times has your quest for cosmic meaning made you neglect the concrete necessities of your life? How many times have you felt alone because few people can follow your reflections, share your level of abstraction, understand your philosophical concerns? The danger of the sage is disconnection. It's living so much in your head, in your ideas, in your visions that real life passes you by. It's becoming so philosophical that you forget to be human, so spiritual that you lose contact with your body, so visionary that you no longer see the present. Your path of individuation consists of learning embodiment, understanding that true wisdom is not in abstract heights, but in the ability to live your principles, that your vision must manifest in concrete actions, that you are not only a spirit, but also a body that needs nourishment, rest, contact, presence. Integration from symbol to life. We have now traversed the 12 months, the 12 principal archetypes that Jung associated with different birth periods. Perhaps you recognized yourself in your month's description. Perhaps you also recognized elements of other archetypes in yourself, because the truth is that we are all complex mixtures, carrying different energies to different degrees. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Thousands of people read psychology books, understand their patterns, identify their wounds, and continue exactly as before. Why? Because true transformation doesn't occur in intellectual understanding, but in lived integration. Jung called this process individuation. It's not simply becoming aware of who you are, it's actively, courageously, consciously becoming who you truly are. It's stopping living according to scripts others have written for you and starting to write your own story. It's ceasing to react automatically according to your conditioning and beginning to respond consciously according to your authentic values. Your birth month's archetype is not a prison. It's a starting point. It's a lens through which you can begin to understand your tendencies, your gifts, your shadows, your challenges. But you are not condemned to repeat the same patterns forever. If you're a guardian of the threshold who has locked yourself in your fortress of solitude, you can learn to open the doors. If you're a visionary lost in your dreams, you can learn to ground your visions. If you're a scattered transmuter, you can learn to establish boundaries. If you're an exhausted warrior, you can learn to rest. If you're a rigid builder, you can learn flexibility. If you're a scattered messenger, you can learn depth. If you're a nurturer who forgets yourself, you can learn to include yourself in your own care. If you're an isolated sovereign, you can learn vulnerability. If you're a paralyzed analyst, you can learn acceptance. If you're a mediator without center, you can learn to take a stand. If you're an alchemist lost in shadow, you can learn to return to the surface. If you're a disconnected sage, you can learn embodiment. But how? How do you transform this knowledge into real change? Here's what Jung teaches us. First, awareness. You must become an observer of yourself. Start noticing when your archetype takes control. When the warrior in you charges without thinking. When the nurturer forgets themselves for others. When the analyst paralyzes themselves in overthinking. Simple awareness already creates a space between you and the automatic pattern. Second, acceptance. You cannot change what you refuse to accept. Your shadows won't disappear because you deny them. They'll simply become stronger, more unconscious, more destructive. Accept that you have these tendencies. Accept that you've made mistakes. Accept that you carry wounds. This acceptance is not resignation. It's the beginning of transformation. Third, integration. This means consciously working with your archetype. If you're a visionary, don't give up your visions. Simply learn to ground them. If you're a builder, keep your ability to create stability, but also learn to let go when necessary. It's not about becoming someone else, but becoming a more complete, more balanced, more conscious version of yourself. Fourth, practice. Individuation is not an event. It's a process. It's daily work, sometimes thankless, often difficult, but profoundly transformative. It requires patience, self-compassion, perseverance. Jung reminds us that we are all on a journey. No one has arrived. No one is perfectly individuated. We are all in the process of becoming, growing, integrating, transforming. And this is precisely what makes life beautiful and meaningful. Your birth month gave you a starting point, a first map of your inner terrain. Now, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with this map. Will you continue to wander in known territory, repeating the same patterns? Or will you have the courage to explore, to venture into the parts of yourself you've avoided, to finally become fully who you are? The answer to this question will determine the rest of your life. And it begins now, in this precise moment, with the simple choice to become aware, to look honestly at your own reflection in the symbolic mirror we've built together. You were not born by chance in the month you were born. Your soul had a reason, even if that reason remains mysterious. Honor that reason by living fully, consciously, courageously. That's all Jung asks of us. That's all life asks of us. And perhaps one day, when you look back on your life, you'll see how everything was connected, how every pain had meaning, how every challenge was an invitation, how your birth month was only the first word of a magnificent story you've been writing all along. This story is your individuation, and it's only waiting for your courage to unfold fully.